Memory implants. It is done to create the necessary context for the person to have the life that has been designed. Without context, it is not possible. But it is not necessary for you to live everything since childhood to experience what interests you in life. Not all people experience life from birth. Many enter as adults, or at any point. It depends on what they want. Although this is mostly done from higher planes esoterically, it is also done with immersion and insertion technology, as the Federation does. It is to alter the course of how a person sees and interprets the 3D reality that surrounds them, in a precise fashion with a specific plan. In itself, though, this artificial form, using various methods, such as immersion mainly, is not as complete as the insertion of memories in memory contexts from higher planes. But the insertion of false memories is not necessarily done with 5D technology that is strange to humans, but with quite simple and reproducible procedures even from 3D, such as the insertion of photographs and altered documents. Photographs with Photoshop duplicate documents placed in key places in a traditional way, not with tractor beam, but with someone physically going to a place and leaving or replacing the documents, as a secret agent would, and they do that. Then the person is guided to believe things that were not true. See gaslighting, where the person will accept that the reality is as it is shown with the photos and documents, and they're convinced that what they remember is false, or that they imagined it and it never happened. The average person accepts the reality imposed on them because the data, the evidence, has more values than their memories. And with that, the course of a person's life is altered, making them believe that they were where they were not, that they were never from one country but from another, forcing them to change their residence, or any combination of that, as necessary and possible.
Asks Robert. So we all have a pre-designed life? How do our timelines fit in this?
Yes, everyone. Even in the pre-designed scenario, the timelines are present. What is pre-designed etherically, I would say, is mostly, if not everything, designed by the person themselves. From the point of view of 5D inserts or the procedure described above, though, it is something that is invasive to the person, with the intention of controlling them.
How do you go about inserting a collective event, such as a war, for example, that really did not exist?
First, by altering all the records controlling the media. Then, inserting, in the ways described above, memories and justifications of why they're not remembered by at least the key people. In the case of the Gulf War, they moved people to the Middle East, and, as they say, they only stayed there, waiting, but nothing happened. Only missiles that flew into the bases, which is easily reproducible with a false flag. So, not everyone involved needs memories inserted. And about not remembering, They justify it with the story of the combat post-traumatic stress, or PTSD, that the soldiers forget things because of the trauma that they carry. Convenient to insert things that never happened.
But war is something that has to be inserted in many people, those who are inside. Because you cannot insert it only for some Americans and set it up mediatically if afterwards people from Iraq, for example, come and say, "But what do you say? There is no war here. I just got back from the coconut party. Everyone happy."
A big war is not easy, but the Gulf one was so extremely localized that even the soldiers on the front line didn't see anything at all. They were waiting. And yes, it is possible they did it with the COVID-19. It is an extensive soup of things that happened and things that did not. Those atrocities happen all the time. You cannot say what is real and what not. It is not as simple as that. As for the Gulf War of 1991, it was media. But yes, real things happened there, as I said above. They did move the troops. But the war was fought mostly in the air with planes. Things do not happen as you are told.
In itself, humans alone manifest everything, but the Federation does include things in the invasive way, whether they accept it or not. Also because 3D is too sluggish and slow to manifest, so they perceive that the humans must have a push in the direction that they themselves desire, or what the Federation perceives where it is that humans want to go, want to experience or have. But in addition to using high technology such as printing things, introducing things, and even situations in 3D Earth with the use of the tractor beam, what they do is generally with low technology. That is to say, putting things or making them appear according to what's convenient to them, using the media and altering documents in a traditional way. That is, no tractor beam, but a physical spy entering at night with a flashlight to change the records of something or introduce documents to someone's file before they are looked up later. The latter is also a problem because the cabal knows it and does the same. The Federation uses this low-tech system as it is not invasive by the Prime Directive. But that also makes them vulnerable to the cabal or intelligence agencies, also doing the same in their favor. And that happens a lot. For example, they may introduce a new King of England using some rumor or old record that alleges that the official kings are illegitimate. Although before this was irrelevant, with the help of the Federation, that king will come out at the right time, using anyone who is or has the correct profile, perhaps even an organic portal with someone managing it from behind. They introduce documents that validate him, remove those that validate others. They make sure it goes to the public or becomes of legal interest and ready. Federation intervention implementing something that did not exist before. They make up a story that the king was hiding in a cave or something, in a comfortable dump with a cable TV. This on a global level. But the Federation has so much capacity and so much power that it does it on an individual level, with each real person down there. They create a history, a family history. They implant documents, and with that, the subject in question will accept it as a real event, although has no memory of it. Memories are implanted as well, but at higher densities, but this is another subject. That is, they will introduce artificially altered photographs, photoshops, and other false documents so that a person has a different history. This way, it will alter where he will go, where he can go, and who accepts him or her, even altering with this their nationality, family, past. Their memories do not matter so much, because humans tend to have a bad memory of their past, and before the evidence of the documents and photographs, they fold their hands and accept that something happened, even if they do not remember anything about it. This and any variant of this happens.
Your pasts are inserted.
Like those of all people, they only play a role there, using an identity template, to work there being someone else, with a mask of Robert or Gosha or Don Mayolo. So, we were never really born? We never really grew up as children? All false? I always feel this when I go to Poland, by the way. Your memories are implanted. Your experience is that, yes, you were born, and that is valid. What you and only you decide what is your own reality. Nobody can impose it on you. Having said that, from a higher angle, it is only you who reads me from a certain critical point in your recent past. Walk-in style entry point, using a memory program implanted in the mind of your avatar body. Okay, but let's forget about my experience. I was not the girl here, for example? I thought I entered at birth. Let's see. Gosha, your experience is yours, and if you decide so, you entered as a child. If you decide so. But from my perspective, I understand and see something else. I don't want this, what my experience dictates me. I want the truth, not what I decide. And don't tell me that what I decide is the truth. Tell me from your perspective. I repeat, this happens, and not only here, and it is the cause of much constant confusion in the viewers of your channel, that what is true at one level is not true from another, more expanded one. The human only thinks on one level. In this case, that what is true on one level, you entered as a baby, is not true on another level, you are a walk-in. And from my perspective, you are a walk-in, and Robert too. Comments Robert. I think the same, Yazhi, but I don't know when I got in here. Robert knows the moment he entered, the incident with the blue beings. Do you know, Gosha? Only you can know. Comments Robert. Yes, in 2007-2008, I thought I was dead and went back to Earth. One came out, the other entered. I don't know. Asks Robert. We have recently come to Earth? From one point of view, you are on Earth. From another, you are in the source. And therefore, from there, you can access any point in the universe. And do you know when I came in? From there, you cannot know? There must have been a strong incident, something that marked you, an epiphany, a traumatic event. I had no major incident, nothing, everything gradual. So, if it is like that, and there is nothing that marks you for yourself, then you can say that you have entered as a child. In the end, that is subjective, and it does not matter. But wait, implanted memories. This does not mean that the girl Gosha did not exist and did not have these experiences, right? Only that she left and I entered. Everybody out there in 3D works with implanted memories, realities and experiences that are not theirs or that they share with the collective. I don't understand this part, that they are all implanted memories. So, what are all these young children I see around? One day they will have these memories of having been these children, and it will not be implanted because I see them now. That is what they are experiencing today, being children and young. They come in with implants even before they are born. Some are not even real. They are a program. What implants before birth? Memories shared among many to give them a frame of reference of how to be a human, especially for souls who are on earth for the first time. Collective memories of having been people with key experiences as a behavioral reference. One of the very common ones is to have been Napoleon. That explains why so many crazy ones insist on having been Napoleon or Maria Antoinette as well. Okay, you said that is what they are experiencing today, being children and young people. So, yes, they are really living this, right? It's not just implanted memory, is it? They live that, but they, not you. Or they are just empty programs, organic containers in process, ready to be inhabited by some star being later in life. Some star beings are on Earth to experience being children. That is not implanted memory. But they do have memory implanted before birth as a behavioral reference. That said, they are all star beings. Whether they continue in a wheel of samsara is their decision. I do not believe in forced reincarnation. Whether I am believed or not, I have died several times on Earth and have never been trapped there as a soul. When I left, I never met beings with trinkets reading my karma and making me see my life as a movie. Okay, good. So, we all have some implanted memories. Not that they are all that. This topic is very complex for me. Okay, again, right from the start. Before birth, people receive implanted memories of previous lives that they did not necessarily have or lived. This as a reference of how to be, how to behave. There are beings who enter from childhood only to experience being children, but then they leave and leave a perfectly healthy container body that another person or star being will occupy. This stellar being assumes the position, the previous memories and the life, terrestrial family and all of the being that is leaving. The body does not die. But from the point of view of one of them, the former, yes, it dies, leaves the body and returns to the source. This memory is in Robert, and it is shared by the new stellar being that lives in his body, by the experience of being Robert, because that star being is interested in being the expanded and enlightened Robert of today, not the one he was before, more matrix. Thus, infinity of variance with each person. And those implants are what the Federation imposes. As I explained to Robert, It is not an imposition per se, but how it all functions, how everything works, because it is managed in this way by the Federation. And it is something not only collective, but rather personal and personalized for each one. So it can be seen as somewhat invasive. From one point of view, it is. From another, it is just how things are, how 3D works. And to disclose this, for example, the Federation is not happy about, because with that, you remove the veil, because you wake up to how everything works, whether or not humans as a mass understand or believe it. And that's not all. There are memory implants of officially accepted events, wars that did not exist, or in alternate timelines. The Federation often alters the perception of the lives of people involved in the war, including how those memories of having been in that war were implanted. Wars that are sometimes concocted by the media and never happen for anyone. And this is a serious offense against the prime directive of the Federation of United Planets. Okay, wow, fascinating. Another thing, those prenatal implants, are they removed once back to 5D, or are they part of my being forever? I want everything to be taken away from me. I just want the truth. From below, an implant is impossible to differentiate from a real experience. It just is as something that does not fit or feel right. They are part of who you are. So even though I might have had false memories of living in Poland as a child, I will still have these memories if I go to 5D? Yes, but in your particular case, I cannot say whether or not they are real memories. That again, it's up to you to decide. From above, it has the same value, although you have not lived it. But how can you tell the difference? That is the work that only you can do or know. It gives you knowledge about things you shouldn't know. Another thing, the problem is that we have not explained, or I have not had the opportunity to explain, that all this is the only way in which the 3D and the 3D experience can work. That is how 3D functions. Basically, giving up your free will with a goal to have a short and chaotic incarnation with great spiritual advancements. Asks Robert. With interference to people? It is not just interference, because interference confers non-interference as opposites. But everything that goes on in 3D is created, artificial. So the term interference is something that is not necessary to state or has no place. It is like complaining that there is nothing organic in the CPU of your computer. Asks Robert. Everything is created? Everything is guided. Everything is managed. Time is not linear there either. They have just put everything together artificially to give you that illusion. You are only experiencing the linearity of the present, of your present experience, as it happens in 5D. Everything historical, even on a personal level, is already altered. Sometimes totally non-existent. Memory implants only. And many people share the same implants. And this is already collapsing public understanding. Many times, chain reactions happen. The entire 9/11 affair, for example, created a temporary alteration, because it forced the Federation to return to alter or correct the damage done by the given information. But they don't know how. And they left holes everywhere. And the more they try to patch them, the more holes come out. And those holes are nothing more than all the historical inconsistencies that people experience and are already realizing. 9/11 without planes, etc. Invasion of Iraq without weapons of mass destruction. Mandela effects en masse at the level of plague. In itself, as the matrix is all set up, it must be placed or presented with the utmost care in a linear way to provoke in people that effect of perceiving time in that linear way. But the moment they start to patch things up, as if hiding inconsistencies, they leave errors that progressively increase in severity. Examples: 9/11 without planes, Iraq 2003 without weapons of mass destruction, COVID-19 pandemic without a virus. Increasingly serious holes in the artificial 3D narrative that are causing the system to crash. Asks Robert. So, where are the timelines of each person here? Would it all be an illusion? Are they trapping souls with their attention on here? That's one more reason why timelines are only personal, and the collective ones are only by agreements. Federation interference is what makes life experience there possible. You cannot remove that interference, or the 3D collapses in a way that you do not want, towards chaos. And that is exactly what you are seeing. Asks Robert. So we knew all this before we came? Yes, and the word interference would not even be correct. It's more like 3D management. The Federation handles it. Interference is manipulating something that would be in its natural flow. Here, the natural flow is the very management of the Federation. Still, it can be argued that some things are too much and could be seen as interference to the natural flow of the Federation's normal management. Comments Robert. Like would be the Van Allen band. That is interference from the magnetosphere. Yes, but the Van Allen bands are the least of the concern here. It is the mind of the people that controls everything. And whoever controls people's minds controls everything. The Van Allen bands remain only as another method of control over the population. And as they are deteriorating at a rapid rate, at gigantic steps, the Federation, through the Cabal, implements new control methods to replace the loss of the Van Allen bands, such as 5G networks, the chips, and all that. Asks Robert. That is to say that there is a 3D matrix and above that a management of people's experiences through some kind of artificial reality. Yes, imposing implanted memories and imposing concepts that alter people's perception. So you also influence my perception, for example. Once you retract all your influences, I will discover that I'm only interested in planting cucumbers in the end. That everything else I do was all you. Gosha, we are never alone. Neither you, nor the Taygetans, nor me. We are always a soup or conglomerate of beings, of consciousnesses, working through each one of us. It is what you call your thoughts. We are all organic portals. There is nothing wrong with that. It only depends on for whom we are. Asks Robert. So somehow souls are retained here through manipulation of perception. Yes, and as it has already been explained more than a year ago, it is to create the experience desired by souls. From lower levels also, in order to exploit. And other races called regressives take advantage of this exploitation. But from above, everything is part of the same dynamic. Asks Robert. But it is voluntary, yes? Yes, from the point of view of souls, it has always been voluntary, which in itself means that from a certain angle it is not necessary to awaken anyone from the point of view of higher densities. Do nothing, just observe. Everything is by decision and carefully planned by every soul there. And it is only an instant in time, and nothing, a short, quick incarnation. But happens this, and it is the cause of constant confusion in the viewers of your channel, that what is true at one level is not true from another, more expanded one. The human only thinks on one level. Taygetans think on many levels simultaneously. I, even worse. So, what is valid for them is not from above, although the above understands the below, but the below not the above. So, from the level of humans, the Federation does interfere and everything is unfair. From the level of Taygeta, your friends see that it is unfair, but they also see that you could live on Earth differently, and they choose to fight against the Federation, being that today they are officially rebels. And I understand it more, understanding the views of humans and Taygetans and the Federation and above. So, what is valid on one level is not valid on another. Asks Robert. Okay, so how to get out of all this here? Is it easy? Understanding who you are, not remembering who you were. Understanding how everything works. Having the firm intention of not returning. Intention based on the fact that there is nothing more to learn while being in 3D. And that being your final intention.